Deb here, your spiritual cheerleader and mentor. Welcome to Greater is Jesus in Me YouTube channel. And you know what to do. Subscribe now. And friends, today we have a very special guest, Pastor Dr. Marshaundus Robinson. Hey, Pastor, how you doing?
Hello, Ms. Deb. How you doing? Good to see you. Glad to be here.
Hey, and I am so happy to have you here. Let's get right into this. I was on the internet and I pulled up some questions, and you covered some of them, but I want to bring them back in because it's important for people to have these conversations before you get married. And for people that are not in any relationship now, these are things that you want to keep in mind so that when you're in a relationship, you know what conversations to have, what questions to ask, and to get the answers. And so here they go. And you can chime in, Pastor, at any time.
Yes, ma'am.
It says, what do you appreciate most about your partner? This sounds like a simple question, but a lot of people can't answer that if the relationship is superficial.
Right.
What do you value about your relationship? This is another one people that are not in a serious relationship can't answer. We talked about this. Are you on the same page about children?
Yes.
How many children you want? How are you going to raise your children?
Yep.
And that's true. You have seen that.
Yes, I've seen that, and I've seen relationships. And if I can be a candid in serious relationships, wanting to marry a person and found out later, I wanted kids. And me and my wife have kids, but I wanted kids, and this early relationship and it failed. But come to find out down the line, she never wanted children. Wanted a dog, but wanted children. And you have to talk about that. And this didn't happen to me, at least that I know of. But some people will secretly tie their tubes, secretly on birth control.
Yes, I've heard about that.
Secretly getting certain, clipped, all those things, whatever it's called, vasectomies or whatever, in relationships, and their spouses didn't even know it. You got to be very, very careful with that. You got to know, this is my non-negotiables. And again, it's okay. So you got to talk about children. You got to talk about bank accounts.
Yes.
Okay. And you got to admit, hey.
That's the other one here before you jump into it. It says,
yes, ma'am.
How will you manage your money and family finances, joint or separate? Do you have debts? Meaning credit card, loan, different loans, student loans, child support, alimony.
Yes.
Some people don't want to ask this. What's your credit score? Have you filed for bankruptcy?
You got to ask these questions. And the reason you have to ask these questions is because, to be fair, I'm a person that believes in marriage, that we're one. And oftentimes you don't realize it sometimes, but his or her debt becomes yours. You may want a big house, and they see who you're partnering with, and your partner spouse may make the money, but if they don't have the proper credit, they still may not get, or they may have good credit, but they don't have the proper finances. You can't buy $1 million house on a $6 an hour job. And so what are your intentions? What are your plans? And then joint accounts. There's different rule of thumbs on that. I believe you probably should have accounts together, but if someone can't handle finances.
Some people are bad spenders.
They're bad spenders. I know some people, and I've been a counselor and talked with couples who, the spouse, anytime they see money, they gonna jump into an account, and they've had to separate their accounts because of bills, because of different things, and so it takes time. I know some pastors will say, "Me and my wife together because we won." I said, "Well, that works for you, but it may be one person that needs to handle that account.
Right.
Because sometimes when people see money, they spend, and some people got gambling addictions. And you have to be careful of that, and that can break up a home with two loving people that probably should be together. So you gotta look at that. Finances will mess up some stuff. Yes. It'll make you not sleep together. It'll make you be in separate beds. It'll make you live in frustration, and the spouse, your wife, will be emotional, and because all she's thinking about is security, you know, and you want to hug. No, I don't want. You want to hug me and these lights off? Something's wrong,
right?
You know, and so you got to talk about those things.
Yeah. You break up. A lot of relationships are broken up because of finances.
Because of finances.
It talks also about your relationship with each other's family.
Oh God, yes. Yes. That's so deep. That's so deep, and that's true. Because family can break up some stuff too, and your in-laws can become your outlaws real quick. And then I guess coupled in that is children. I believe, especially from a God perspective, and in general, not just, you know, from a Christian perspective, I think in general rule of thumb, what about children? What about children that are step? Yeah. There's so many instances where the step parent is abusive to the non-child because they're not, simply because they're not his.
Right.
And what I've learned is you got to love them and their spouse enough to say, your children are mine.
Yes.
Or, you know, if you got children, I kind of want my own. I don't mean disrespect. I would never try to hurt your children, but I don't know if I would treat your child as fairly as my biological children. And that's okay. But we probably shouldn't be married right now.
Yes.
Because we
be
are
honest. Yes.
Yeah, you got to be honest. Like, I don't want to hurt you. And I've been in situations where wonderful ladies, like, man, you know, I hate to hurt them, but, you know, your children as big as me. You know, I don't know if I want to deal with you if it comes a time. And not saying that they would ever do that, but they respected me. But and that wasn't a breakoff point, but that the things I thought about. I don't know if I can handle you ain't my daddy. I don't know if I could have handled that, at least then, maybe now. But at that moment, I don't know if I could handle that. That was a scare for me. Right. And it's a scare for other people. And it's not that I would never mistreat them. But for me, it was, oh, you ain't my daddy when I want to be your daddy too. So can I handle that? You know, so you got to think about that. Then mothers, sometimes mothers don't want nobody else to have you but them. A lot of times single mothers who have children who want to get married, and because the mama or even the daddy don't have nobody, I want you to be happy, baby, but you know, mommy wants you around. And I've seen that mess up stuff, and they've lost good potential spouses because mama wanted them to themselves. Or you know, spouses are saying, you know, yeah, you got a family and I'm glad you're close with your family, but now you got a new family, you got a spouse, so you can't go over mama's house every day. You know, that you want to. You know, I don't care if they live down the street. You know, I need you. I need your attention all the way here. And not that you don't, definitely have a relationship with your family, because you don't want nobody cutting you off from family. That's not right either. But you need to ask those questions. And can you handle it? Hey, I got some crazy people in my family. All my family ain't saved. I'm the only one saved, really. Can you handle that? You know, we go to family reunion, we go to Christmas dinner. They may be turning up. I do my best to tell them not to. But I don't want you looking your long religious nose at them. So can you handle that? So it's a lot of different things. But I say keep family out your business a lot of time. Because they can hurt you. That can hurt you a lot of times.
Yes.
So you need covenant relationship with people outside your church sometime, or in your church that you can have community with, but that's not in your family, but that's mature. That's going to challenge you, who ain't jealous of you. So you got to look at that. There's different dynamics in the family. So I've seen all that mess up some stuff. I've seen families break up because, you with your mama too much. You love your sister more than you love me. You love your brother more than you love me. You love your mama, your aunties, your daughters. And your children, and it's they were here with me first, but I'm your husband.
Right.
I'm your priority as well.
Right.
And so we've got to look at all that.
And now that you said that, let's get right into the expectations and boundaries around other relationships like friends.
Yes.
And co-workers, because sometimes people don't know where to draw the line with friendships. Yeah. Yes, you were hanging out with your boys and all this, but now we're married.
Yeah.
What are the expectations or boundaries? You have to talk about that.
You got to talk about boundaries. So yes, and I would do it twofold, because we live in a day where women say, I ain't got a lot of girlfriends, lady friends. Mm-hmm. So I hang around a lot of guys, but girls get jealous. Well, as a husband, I don't know if I can deal with that, or vice versa. All my best friends are girls. That may be true, but at the right moment, girls and guys can catch feelings, and you can go same relationship. But you got to be careful, because I'm not going to be happy with you hanging out consoling your friend who's a guy, and going through. And you over there at 12 o'clock at night, okay, what he doing for you, I can't do, So you're going to ask those questions. So you have to be careful with even those opposite sex relationships. And that's how affairs start, okay? You might need to be on your job. And we're going to go with the other friend part too. But on your job, you may have to put a clause in where you say, I can't travel alone with them. My spouse is going to have to come with me if we're going to go on a travel. We, hotels room next to each other. We here 5 days by ourselves. And I know you got to do what you got to do, but that's how stuff can happen. And then when you're in trouble at home or you're getting into it, he or she is the only person you can console with. One thing leads to another, because emotional ties, or you hanging and your husband don't communicate like this guy at the job does, or at the church does, or vice versa. That's how stuff gets started. So yeah, it may seem corny. It may seem that's too old school. Well, I'd rather save my marriage in the name of old school. Yes. I'd rather be known to be, and nobody's perfect. Anybody can fall. But I'd rather be known to be faithful to my spouse and called old school than being free and modern and got all kinds of stuff going on or living a double lifestyle. Then you got the other side. You hang with your single friends. After a while, sometimes you constantly hang with them, you're going to want to be single. Or your girl's gonna get jealous and start nitpicking at what he ain't doing. And girl, if I was you, I wouldn't take that. Or because he wants you to stay at home and you can't go out of town this time on the girl's trip. He's like, I wouldn't take all that, because no, you got these boundaries. I'm married now, so the rules of engagement are different. Yes. Yeah, single, and even church. And I try to say, tell people, ladies, and not that I'm such much, because I'm not, don't make me a cake and you can't make my wife one. And vice versa.
I like
don't
that.
Give my wife no spare, no shoes on her birthday. You ain't gonna give me at least a watch or a handkerchief. I mean, a watch and a suit or something. So you got to be careful with those relationships, because that can mess you up. Yes. You can't think single being married. Yes. And if you can't be married and still trying to live the single life. Single life, but you're gonna really be single. Yep. Yep. Yeah. And people don't realize that. And we need, and I think this is my thing. And you, I don't know how it is in Virginia, but even a lot of our young people, they don't want to be married because they see some of us. We ain't looking right in marriage. And get with some other married couples too. Now, mean you can't have no single friends. I'm not saying that. That's wrong. But you probably want to be around as much as you can some other married couples. Yes. And I'll say younger and older, but the younger demographic, you want somebody in marriage. You want somebody over you, under you, and kind of with you. What do I mean by that? It's good to be with married couples because y'all strengthen each other. You want to have some couples older than you, been married longer than you at least, that have stood the test of time. They may have made some mistakes, to help you so you can know what to look forward to, what to navigate, some bumps in the roads that may come. I believe experience is not always the best teacher, it's the hardest. So it's good to have somebody above you that you can be around. So it's good to be around those with couples. Go out to eat with them. Then you need somebody with you. Y'all can kind of feed off each other.
Yes.
And this is what I got through. Or we both struggling. We can all pray together. Let's hang in there as a married couple. We both young in the game, or we both been in there about this time, about 10 years or so, 5 years. And how do we strengthen each other? Or we need some people we can lay our hair down with. Then you need some people under you to make you stay sharp. So some couples that are younger than you, they'll tell you their problems. That helps you to grow.
Yes.
When you're able to pour into them, you got to stay consecrated for them, and that'll help you stay married. So it's good to be around other married or seriously engaged dating couples. That helps to keep you going in that vein. Because there was a time, and I can be honest, I was around my single brothers. I'm like, man, y'all kicking it, y'all cool. This seems like a good life. But when being around other couples who are married, it's like, man, I want to keep going. So you got to be careful. Hanging with the boys all day, hanging with the girls all day. That's not helpful. That's not good.
And then one of the things you mentioned, which I'm bringing that up here, what are your ideas around division of household chores? You talked about chores.
Yeah.
And as you said, people might think, oh, this is not a big deal. It becomes sometimes a big deal because if you are a person that loves things to be in a certain way, done a certain way and in its place, and then you are the opposite that just kind of throw things anywhere. And then how do you divide your chores? Who is going to be doing what? To me, there's always should be roles. Okay, I'm going to do this, and you will take care of this. Everybody should have their roles and know what they want, what they're going to be contributing to the household.
Yeah. And that's so true. And one of the things, and you got to be honest. I know some couples that say this. My wife, and this is a prime example personally, I'm not necessarily good with the girls' hair. My daughter's hair. And she gets it out. She go take it to my cousin or do them. And I had to be honest, that's probably not going to be my thing. But I would help you pay for them to get some things done. I would probably even wash their hair. But going beyond that may not be me. Or let's divide. You got to say, hey, I don't cook. Well, it don't have to be just a female thing. Well, as a husband, I cook. My wife can't cook, and she's a good cook, so it's not my situation. But how do we handle that? So my wife is like, okay, she does a lot of cooking. I at least expect you to take out the garbage.
Or do the dishes. Some guys say, well, I'll do all the cleanup and you cook.
Right.
I know some couples where the husbands are the ones that cook because they love to cook.
They love to cook.
And the wives don't care about cooking, and that works for them.
And it works for them.
That's why the conversation is there. You have to have the conversation.
You have to, and that's the point. You got to have communication and just say, hey, I don't do this. Now, and I've heard this with couples. I clean, but I don't dust.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I clean, but that dusting may not be my thing. So you might have to work with me on that. You might have to dust the fan. Dusting ain't my thing. My wife does more. I like it real clean, extra clean, and I'll dust if I had to. But I don't always think about that. I'm looking for everything. I don't like food on the floor or things on that nature. But we made a decision. Okay, I cook, or she cooks, and I cook sometime too. But I take out the garbage. Mm-hmm. I try to get all the garbage out. I mow the lawn, every week, every other week. I do the leaves or have it paid for if it's too many. So that's my job. I get up and pour in the morning snow. I don't want you to have to do that. So meet me halfway on, making sure the house is tidy, because that's a pet peeve for me. Mm-hmm. So we've had those conversations, and they had to be tough. Okay, how do we do this? How do we navigate through this? Mm-hmm. My wife had to say, "Hey, baby, you left the garbage out this time. I had to go put it in." And so you got to communicate those things, but it's okay. We don't have to be traditional as long as you are, comfortable with that and communicating that. Okay, she may do more raking the lawn and mowing the grass.
Yeah, I know some
I would rather be the person to do that as a man.
I know
I'm like,
some
no, that's
couples
my
that
job.
do that. The wife
Yeah,
does
but women
the
do
lawn.
that. Yeah, they love it.
Yeah.
They're industrial.
Yeah.
And it's okay. It don't make her less of a woman or you less than a man because you happen to cook and do the girl's hair. That's how we do it. We work it that way. But you got to talk. You got to talk. You got to talk.
Conversation.
Yeah, conversation. You got to say this before. If both of y'all ain't cooking, and somebody gonna be in trouble. Somebody gonna be in trouble because they gonna want some down home food, and you're like, no, baby, we do the closest down home you gonna get is Old Country Buffet. That's around. So.
Yes. And then here's the last one, and I think it's a big one for a lot of people, and they don't have this conversation. And you and I were talking about this. How do you want your spouse to express love and affection? What are your expectations about intimacy and sex?
Yes.
And people don't have this conversation. I've known women that have confided in me that they are not, they don't like certain things.
Yeah, let's talk.
But they don't want to tell the spouse, their husband, anything because they don't want to hurt their feelings, or they feel that they're going to get angry, or they're going to go somewhere else and look for it somewhere else. So they kind of just go along with it. So
and be most miserable. And we don't talk about this one enough. We talk about curves and body and all that, but we don't talk about intimacy because there are many marriages who are not happy because the sex is just not good for them. And oftentimes it's because either you weren't honest about what you really wanted.
There needs to be an intimate conversation about things you like and you don't like.
Yeah, what you don't like. Because
and it's okay. It is
and it's okay. And it's okay. But you got to have these conversations because then you get men and or women stuck on porn. And while they're intimate with you, they think about somebody else, an old fling or a porn. I've seen it happen where they can't enjoy their wife unless they're thinking about somebody else. Number one, oftentimes because they didn't get what they wanted, they settled. Or number two, they haven't told their spouse that when she do this or when they're intimate, she doesn't satisfy me. You got to have that conversation. It may hurt them. I had one pastor say for years, his wife would kind of kiss his neck. And it took him 20 years. He said, I really don't like when you do that. She said, you never told me. You know what I mean?
And that's why premarital counseling is so important, because these are things that people may not want to just start a conversation about. But if they go to a third party, this third party is going to bring it up and it's going to make you have to think about it and answer these questions and talk to each other. Now, a lot of people are, again, before they get married, they are already intimate and so forth. And they have not had this conversation either. And even though in the relationship, they're not satisfied, they're not happy with certain things, they still decide to go into the marriage knowing that they're not happy with certain things. This is the time to talk about these things. And if you tell a person you like this and that person tells you, well, I don't like doing that.
I don't like that.
And this is the time before you get married to cut your losses and say, something, well, this is not going to work for me.
And don't lie to me. Don't lie to me and tell me, I'm good with that. Or just passively say, well, I'm thinking you're okay with it. And then we get married and you like, Then in my mind, why you married me?
Right.
You knew I liked that. I told you I liked it. Be honest. And you may not have lost me. Maybe we can get counseling even on this area. Talk to a therapist. And maybe you may like it. You just don't know it. Or you got to say, hey, I had an experience as a child and I was mistreated. Or in the early stages or before we got married, and we slipped up and did what we did, or in our early stages, I liked it then. Mm-hmm. But at 40, 45, 38, 10 years in marriage, that don't satisfy me no more. Mm-hmm. I need more intimacy than just sex, if you will. Mm-hmm. I need intimacy there. Mm-hmm. I need you to hold my hand.
Right.
Tell me you love me.
Right.
Don't just, and men need it too. Talk to me. Enjoy. Don't just say, let's do it, and then we turn it over. God wants us to enjoy this. Mm-hmm. And so in the confines of marriage, it's undefiled. Mm-hmm. Let's talk. And if you can't simply do that, I hate we couldn't make it. But I don't want to be miserable in my marriage. Right. and veering off somewhere else because we weren't honest.
So if you are in a relationship, and some people are celibate, but then you can still have this conversation.
You still can, and you should.
You have to have these conversations. You have to talk about these things, and don't just go into the marriage because you're lonely, you want to be married, your friends are getting married, you feel that the train is leaving you, all kinds of stuff.
Yep.
And then you get married to be miserable.
To be miserable. And I'll tell you, and I know we got to wrap it up. I'll tell you, I would rather be a little lonely and sad for 2 or 3 years than having 10, 15 years of setback due to marrying someone who I probably shouldn't have did that with, trying to get married. Okay. It may be lonely for these first year or two because if I don't settle, but it'll be well worth it in the long run. And it may be tough. I know the biological clock is ticking in your mind, but God will get you where he needs you to be. Mm-hmm. And ask yourself why, maybe God is working something in you. Don't settle. Please don't settle. Because you want to be, and people have been divorced and all that, and God forgives that. And you can be renewed and be married. And I get it. He forgives that. But you really, if you can help it, have one spouse. If you can help it. You don't want to be.
It makes a big difference.
It makes a big difference.
It makes a big difference in so many ways. And that's a conversation we really need to have.
Yeah. We need to have that
too.
It
makes a big difference.
Yep. But I would love to see our society have married couples staying together in our society, our culture. We see it in the movie business. They get married today, they're done tomorrow. And that pains me. Whether it's black or white, I just rich or poor, it just hurts me.
Yes.
To see that, because believe it or not, seeing other people stay together helps you to stay together. Mm-hmm. So
when you hear about couples that have been together 50 years and 70 years and all of that, you are like, wow.
Yeah.
It is possible for that to happen.
It is possible.
Yes.
For that to happen. And I think that is some of the greatest things we can leave with our children. Is one thing one of my aunts taught me, my mom's sister. I said I was scared. I said I don't want to leave any of my children in the car. That made me scared. Like I don't want to forget them. I never was a parent before, and I'm like, man, what if I do this? I don't want to drop them. I don't want to hold them the wrong way.
Been there. I hear you.
Yeah. I was nervous, but one thing my aunt told me, she said, the greatest thing you can give your daughters is loving that woman you married, their mother. She said, the greatest thing you can do, you're going to be fine. But the greatest thing you can do is love that woman you married, their mother, and treat her as best you can. Look her in the eyes, hold her hand, because they may remember that more than some of the other stuff.
Wow.
Yep.
That's deep. That's deep. That's
yep.
Deep.
Yep.
That's
yep. 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 So I'm so excited to be on this platform. I appreciate you. I appreciate your diversity. I appreciate your desire to help not just one group, one segment, but all. I appreciate your desire.
That's what God wants. All of us.
That's what he does want. That's what he does want.
Some people might say, well, when I get married, I'm going to go to counseling. that might be too late.
Too late. That's too late. That's like saying, I'm going to go to church when I get right.
Yeah.
Sometimes you got to go to get right.
Yeah. So we are encouraging you to find you that you watching. If you are thinking of getting married, we are encouraging you, Pastor and I are encouraging you to find a place somewhere to go and get some type of pre-marriage counseling. Get to know who you're marrying before you marry them. Sometimes you're not seeing the big picture, the whole picture, until you start asking the right questions. Yes, you're going to be uncomfortable. Yes, it's going to be awkward. Yes, it might hurt. Yes, you might wind up breaking up, but it's best to do it before you take that step, that lifetime commitment, and find out, oops, you may not be the right person for me.
That's right. Please, it's better to do it on this end. And I hope I can be candid here. And there are some. One of my mentors, he's a pastor. He preaches counseling, and he almost says, if I feel even in my spirit a nudge that this ain't gonna work, even after counseling, I really don't marry them, or definitely encourage them not to, because he said he's found out later he had to bury some spouses due to AIDS, because they married somebody and got with them, but that person had a problem, very unfaithful, struggled with different things, and gave disease to this spouse. So it's detrimental. That you definitely know, and things can happen after you don't know. Things do happen. We make mistakes and we fall and we go on the ruts, but please, it could literally save your life to get premarital counseling.
And you know what? There's one thing I didn't touch. You did touch it, and I wanted to say something about this. You talked about health. And I think it's important for people to disclose any mental or health issues they have. I heard about somebody had cancer and they didn't tell their spouse. And when they got married, then the spouse found out, and the person wound up dying a few months later. And the spouse was blindsided about it. Please disclose it to your partner and let them know and make a decision whether or not they want to go through with this. And it's okay if that person says, well, I'm not ready for this. I don't think I can handle this. It's a different thing if you're already married and things happen, as you say. But if you know upfront that you have something going on, let that person know what they're getting into.
Please. And the person you're dealing with could help you, and they may have a connection you don't even know about. Because it's not a death sentence for you to struggle with some grief. Life is crazy. I mean, people have been mistreated, abused as children. People have been in car wrecks, and people have been talked about and bullied. I mean, these things happen, so it's understandable. And if somebody can't understand you struggling, maybe that's not the person you need to be with anyway. So you can want to get it out, because you don't want to blindside your spouse, and you're going off the handle. Or, one lady one day when asked me, hey, how's your blood pressure? How's your body? I'm like, man, what you asking? But I get it. She's like, okay, I need to know, what I'm getting into, because, man, I need to know, can I do this? I want to be in this for the long haul. I don't want to be second guessing 5 years down the line. We're going to have some problems, So I think it's paramount, and it could literally save your life. To be honest, I mean, you owe it to somebody. You don't want to blindside anybody, and just for the sake of your happiness and your status on Facebook to say you got somebody. Those days are over with. We got to let that go. We got to let that go. We got to let that go. We got to let that go.
So friends, remember to go to Greatest Jesus in Me YouTube channel, and you know what to do. Subscribe now. Be blessed And until next time.